Here's a secret the guy who owns your local gas station will never tell you. He barely makes a cent on the gas. The real money is hiding inside that little store. And today, I'll show you exactly how to buy the whole thing. What one really costs, how to finance it with almost none of your own money, the exact numbers of a real deal, and the one hidden landmine that can turn a great buy into a six-figure disaster. First, you have to understand what you're actually buying, because it is not a gas business. On a gallon of gas, the owner might keep 10 to 15 cents after the fuel company and the credit card fees take their cut. That's a razor-thin margin, and it barely covers the lights. The real machine is inside. Coffee, sodas, snacks, cigarettes, lottery tickets. The convenience store runs margins of 25 to 40% or more. The fuel is just bait to pull cars into the lot. The store is where the profit lives. So when you acquire a gas station, you're really acquiring a high-traffic convenience store that happens to sell fuel out front. Get that one idea, and everything else makes sense. So if the store is the prize, what does the whole operation actually cost? The number is lower than most people think. A small independent gas station typically sells somewhere between $300,000 and $1.5 million, depending on location, fuel volume, and whether the real estate is included. But here's how it's really priced. Not on the building, on the cash flow. Buyers pay a multiple of what's called seller's discretionary earnings, or SDE, basically the total yearly profit the owner takes home. Most gas stations trade for roughly 2 to 3.5 times that number, so a station throwing off $200,000 a year in owner earnings might sell for around $500,000. You're not paying for bricks, you're paying for a proven stream of cash, and a proven cash stream is exactly what a bank loves to lend against. Which brings us to the part everyone gets wrong, the money. You do not need $500,000 in your bank account to buy a $500,000 gas station. Not even close. The main tool is an SBA 7A loan, a government-backed small business loan built for exactly this. It can fund business acquisitions up to $5 million, and critically, it often requires only about 10% down. On our $500,000 deal, that's $50,000. The loan stretches over 10 years. Sometimes 25 if real estate is included, which keeps the payment manageable. And you can often get the seller to finance part of the deal themselves, a seller note, where they let you pay a chunk over time. Lenders will sometimes let that seller note count toward your down payment. Stack it right, and a motivated buyer controls the whole machine for well under $50,000 out of pocket. Now, let's run the real numbers, the exact ones a bank runs before they say yes. You buy a station for $500,000. It generates $200,000 a year in seller's discretionary earnings. You put $50,000 down and finance $450,000 on an SBA loan. At current rates over 10 years, that's roughly $60,000 to $70,000 a year in loan payments. Call it 65. Now the number the bank cares about most, the debt service coverage ratio, your cash flow divided by your loan payment. $200,000 in earnings against $65,000 in payments is a ratio of about 3. Banks usually want at least 1.25. You're at 3, and a deal that comfortable gets funded. After the loan is paid, you're left with roughly $135,000 a year on $50,000 invested. That's the math that makes people quit their jobs. But that entire deal can blow up over something buried in the ground. Underneath the lot are underground storage tanks holding thousands of gallons of fuel. If those tanks are old or leaking, they can contaminate the soil and groundwater. And cleaning that up can cost $100,000, sometimes far more. And it's often the owner's legal responsibility. This is why you never, ever buy a gas station without a Phase 1 environmental assessment, and if anything looks off, a Phase 2 that actually tests the soil. You check the age of the tanks, whether they're single or double-walled, and whether there's a clean compliance record. A smart buyer makes the purchase contingent on a clean environmental report and negotiates escrow or price cuts if there's any risk. The tanks are the difference between buying a cash machine and buying a lawsuit. Respect them. And the tanks aren't the only trap. Many stations are locked into a branded fuel supply agreement, a contract that forces you to buy gas from one company at set prices for years. That can cap your margins and tie your hands. Before you buy, you read that contract line by line. How many years are left, what volume you're forced to buy, and what it costs to exit. Unbranded stations have more freedom but less foot traffic from the brand name. On top of that, you verify the financials with actual tax returns and fuel delivery records, not the seller's word. And you check the equipment age, the lease if you don't own the land, and the local competition. All right, you know the traps. Here's the fun part. How you take that $135,000 machine and quietly double it. Add a food program, even a simple coffee and hot food counter, and you layer in some of the highest margin sales in retail. Extend the hours, fix lazy pricing, add a car wash or an ATM, and tighten inventory so you stop losing money on expired stock. Each one is a small lever, but stacked together, they can lift the store's profit dramatically in a year or two. And remember the multiple. Because the price is based on earnings, every extra dollar of profit you add doesn't just pay you now. It raises what the whole station is worth when you sell. That's the mechanics of acquiring a gas station. A misunderstood cash machine, bought with mostly the bank's money, protected by real due diligence, and grown with a few smart levers. It's not glamorous, and that's exactly why it works while everyone else chases hot stocks. This is Acquisition Insider, showing you how the machine really works. Subscribe.